It was only when Anita lit the virtue signal and the Pavlovian hordes descended from on high to challenge the contention that men are harassed just as frequently as women by engaging in organized anti-male harassment. Well fucking played, Madam Curie.
Alright, bear with me. This is my first response video, and I'm not just responding to one, but two. The first is pretty short, so it'll pass by quick, but the second one was over 30 minutes long, and my ADD just can't handle that. I cut it down to just over 10 minutes of actual footage that I'll be responding to, but I'll include the links to both videos in the description, as well as Sargon's hour-long breakdown of everything that happened, and I highly recommend watching them, especially Liana's videos, so that you can see that despite my editing for time, I tried really hard not to take anything out of context.
On the overly made-up face of it, this ain't that big a fucking deal. And indeed, if Anita had taken her puerile pot shot, ignored the backlash, and gone back to draining every ounce of plasma out of the crowdfunding carrion, I suspect this video, and indeed the entire three-ring shit show that subsequently ensued, would not, in fact, exist. But if there's one constant in the ephemeral armchair ideology of third-wave feminism, it's why leave well enough to fuck alone when you can grandstand and equivocate like Foghorn refused to shave my leghorn.
And this is really the biggest problem overall. Well, not the biggest, but a big one. I've already mentioned in my last video that this has gotten way out of proportion, and I sincerely hope that this will be my last video about Anita Starscream. I also want a corgi, but that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon either.
And to be blunt, because I totally haven't been to this point, this is on you, gaming media. You gave this woman an inch, and now she thinks she's a fucking ruler.
Oh yeah. She's taken her mile and ran with it. Hank over at VidCon pretty much gave her a free pass to attack both audience members and co-panelists with no repercussions whatsoever. Why? I'll answer this later in the video.
Giving each other shit is not an artifact of toxic masculinity. That's one of the earliest practical definitions of what it is to be fucking human. If being a meanie poo is a product of the patriarchy, someone's gonna have to explain to me the acid-spewing Algonquin known as a women's restroom. You'd see less gossip mongering on TMZ. One of the reasons MRAs and MGTOWs will never be taken seriously is because no man could hate women as much as other women.
This is so true. Men give each other shit as a form of endearment. Women, on the other hand, give each other shit because they want to hurt them. I've seen grudges between women last for years because one woman took offense at something another woman said to her, or maybe not even to her, but about her, or about somebody else, and half the time didn't even realize she was saying anything hurtful at all. But the Razor goes on to add this bit.
Hell, look what happened when Sargon had feminist Liana on his program, and she expressed opinions the majority of his audience disagreed with. She got blowback, sure, but Sargon himself got flambéed in fucking effigy for merely allowing her to speak uninterrupted. Liana, by the by, did an excellent video on this topic, and I recommend you fix your peepers on it.
And so I did. I sat through the entire 37 minutes and change. Then I sat down with it again to cut it down to about 12 minutes because, well, my ADD won't let me sit still long enough to make an hour-plus video response. Wait, didn't I already say that? Oh well. It's a miracle I was able to sit through Sargon's hour-long breakdown, but it was well worth it. Anyway, over to Liana K's video I go, and lo and behold, I find one of the feminists I can actually tolerate. One who actually acknowledges that men are people and they have issues too, and that the solution to this whole kerfuffle can only be reached through discord, not planting a boot atop your enemy's neck. So let's see what Liana had to say. Is it okay to call her Liana, or do I have to use the K? I'm lazy, so I'm just going to stick with Liana.
Now, I have a unique perspective on this whole thing because I have been harassed by some of the followers of both Anita Sarkeesian and Sargon of Akkad. This was somebody who took it upon themselves to ramp it up. But things got a bit hot for Sargon. He was accused of beta-ing. He was accused of cowing to me, and somehow, in the minds of some of his followers, this showed what an evil bully I was, that even, the great Sargon betaed to me because essentially I'm such a bitch. And so they decided to go after me in some weird warp defending of the honor of their guy.
Okay, she's establishing her credibility. I can buy that. And yes, like any other public figure, the followers tend to be much more rabid than their idol. Look at Christ, look at Trump, hell, look at MLK Jr. Of the two that are no longer alive, I'm confident that they would be appalled by the atrocities committed in their names. When you start talking about social media celebrities with fans hiding behind keyboards, that bile and venom gets cranked up to 11.
People have an opinion about them, but they've never sat down and watched a single one of their videos all the way through.
I'll admit, I'm guilty of this. 99.9% of what I've seen of Anita Starscream has been on other people's videos or in a response to. But, just like the actual footage Sargon recorded and the document that Liana later goes over with the fine-tooth comb in this video, I feel that I'm getting a pretty accurate representation. And I've already commented on how I've sat through many of Sargon's videos.
I believe Sargon when he says that he was just going there to see what she had to say. I do not believe he was intending to menace, based on what I know of him.
We're off to a good start. She's not blaming Sargon right off the bat. Let's see where she goes from here.
And so because of that, I also believe Anita Sarkeesian. And no, I honestly believe, everything about her reaction says she was thrown.
Personally, I believe she's being a bit gentle. But she started off gentle with Sargon, so I'm not going to complain about equal footing. Even though I personally don't accept being caught off guard as an excuse to throw the first punch.
But, all that being said, as someone who has been in this situation, what the hell does she think every video game designer with a female character in their game feels about her? The lack of self-awareness here is galling. But this is off the charts.
Okay, so much for gentle. But she's right. Let's keep going.
Keep in mind, and that's why Lacey Green's video is so important. It's on Twitter. I recommend, they're not that long, not like this video. They're not that long. I recommend that you go and check out what Lacey did because it's very humanizing. I'm worried about her right now because she is in a very lonely place. I know that place. I inhabit that place. And I was never really on the inside to the extent she is with that whole social justice cabal. I can only imagine the strength it is taking her to do what she's doing right now. I greatly respect it. And going out there and talking about pain in an environment where the knives are out for her, that is an act of real bravery. And it is an act of real bravery for Lacey to see Sargon as a person. And I commend her for that because I think that is what's lacking in all of this stuff.
Okay, rabbit chase, but worth it. I watched Lacey's videos, and they were raw and honest, and I've already commented about them in another video. I'll try and find links to those as well to put in the description. Aside from that, it establishes the fact that Sargon is, in fact, a human. Despite the fact that I never knew what he looked like before all this blew up because he uses an online avatar. Not that there's anything wrong with that. While we see Starscream and her human guys more often, the things come out of her mouth make it a lot harder to accept her as human. She comes off as more one of the lizard people from V.
Anita Sarkeesian's opponents do not see her as a person. Sargon of Akkad's opponents do not see him as a person. They are both people. I want to say that because I'm going to be very, very rough for the greater good.
The greater good. Sorry, I had to. I've watched Hot Fuzz way too many times. But here she's just reinforcing what I just stated. Both Sargon and Anita are hard to recognize as actual human beings, although for entirely different reasons.
On the feminist frequency response, I am not condemning what Anita did in that moment. I think she panicked and she behaved accordingly. I won't even say she behaved badly, because people cannot be expected to behave at their best when they're legitimately freaked out. And I believe she was freaked out.
Here I disagree. You see people as they truly are when they're freaked out. And if you can't handle yourself better than that, you have no business whatsoever being on a stage, much less in the public eye. How do you expect to garner any respect outside of your zealotous following if you lose your shit every time someone says or does something you don't like, such as sitting there and listening to you talk?
So, let's get in. There we go. Okay. I am going to be brutal on this. I think it was a gaffe. She is not good off script.
Then she shouldn't allow herself to publicly be placed in situations that can and most likely will go off script.
So you feminist frequency people out there who have engaged in your own harassment against me, who have gotten me blacklisted in this industry, who have basically made people afraid to support me because it crosses your ire, and they don't want that. They don't want the trouble of treating me like a human being, because you have sent up the flares in this damn industry that anybody opposes you is subhuman and bad for women. So if you think his behavior is bad, you better look in the damn mirror and check yourself, because you are guilty of everything that you accuse them of. The problem is you are more effective at what you do. You actually cause people to be shunned in this industry. People deny me interviews and don't want me covering their product because I am anti-feminist frequency. Not because people who think you're right, but because they're afraid. Okay, everybody is afraid of getting spanked by the feminist frequency paddle.
Remember when I made the comment about no repercussions? This is why. These people bully and bludgeon and operate with an iron fist forged out of fear, all while proclaiming themselves the weak and oppressed victims, when it's they that are the abusers and oppressors. And they're good at it.
Think about that. Think about how you feel right now. The next time you try to attack a game because you don't like it, make very, very, very sure that what you are criticizing is actually something that you can back up, instead of just something that makes you feel personally uncomfortable or that you don't like, because art is sometimes uncomfortable. Oscar Wilde, Bernard Shaw, both these playwrights, these authors made work that was deliberately uncomfortable for the audience. I could name others, but those are hoity-toity names that people, first of all, they're on the left. Wake up! Wake up! When you start pissing and moaning like this.
Continuing the theme, these people have become what they claim to hate, what they claim to fight. They want their nice, comfy place where they can eat their pie, and they don't care who they have to hurt, intimidate, or bully to get it. But if you so much as make them uncomfortable, ooh, buddy, get ready for the shitstorm.
Their presence was plainly not, as one of them later said in an apology video he posted to Twitter, to give us the chance we never gave them and to hear us out, but it was instead to intimidate me and put me on edge. You don't know that, Anita. You don't know that. Give him the listen and believe that you want, because this is what people do to you. This is the thing you say is so wrong. They don't believe you when you say you've been harassed. It's the golden rule. Give what you want to get. Do not shoot people down and expect kindness and compassion when it's up to you. People don't do that.
Science and knowledge, the cornerstones of the skeptic mindset. One of the reasons I've battled Christianity so much is because I've actually read the Bible cover to cover, rather than repeating some cherry-picked, out-of-context dogma that gets shoved down the throat of the masses. I know the church is twisting the word to the point of almost outright lying. Also, back to the art of war, and if you want to argue that this isn't war, Starscream is the one who keeps saying that she's fighting. So, know thine own enemy. That's the first rule of Warcraft. Sit, listen, learn. It's no secret that I'm a martial artist, and I'm going to bring that up a few more times in this video. But back when I was in the tournament circuit, or training people for the circuit, or even later when I was training people for the cage, I would often visit rival dojos, sometimes openly, sometimes quietly, so that I could learn their style, tactics, and weaknesses to better train my own students. It's completely believable that they went to simply listen and possibly throw a curveball or two during the Q&A.
And I get it. It's embarrassing. She was publicly embarrassed. Badly. But instead of being self-aware and going, I saw them and I panicked and I'm sorry, this is what happens when you're under siege all the time. She accuses them of a thought crime. This, too, is part of their strategy, gaslighting, acting in a way intended to encourage me and their other targets to doubt ourselves and to wonder if all of this isn't just in our heads.
So, she accused them of doing what she was doing. Okay.
Yes, the purpose of people like Sargon-eesian is to make feminists like me, and different kinds of feminists like Anita Sarkeesian, doubt our convictions. This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. It's like tempering steel with fire. It's important. If someone's criticisms make you question yourself, that is not the same as a personal attack.
I couldn't agree more. I've done a video on this very topic. There are multiple activities I'm involved in where my primary function is to play the devil's advocate. If your ideals cannot stand up to being challenged, then they are weak and you should seriously reconsider them. If they can stand up, then you'll come out stronger and more confident.
And yeah, Sargon goes over the line that way himself. He has a habit of saying someone is a stupid person, someone is an idiot, instead of saying that the statement does not hold up, or if you're going to be less nice, the statement is idiotic.
Well, that's because when someone says something stupid enough times, you start to see the source of the statements as stupid or idiotic rather than just the statements themselves. Sure, smart people can do dumb things, but when everything you do is dumb, then you might just have to reevaluate your own opinion of yourself.
Sorry, Anita. I'm giving you the benefit because you were freaked out, but if all things were equal, which they weren't, that would have been wrong. You would have been in the wrong. Did I not sincerely believe you were freaked out?
Nah, fuck that. She was straight up wrong. If a cop saw a thuggish looking person walking towards them, freaked out and started shooting, then that cop's gonna get crucified. I realize this is a different scenario, but if you're gonna sit on a panel at a public event, then you have to prepare yourself not to freak out and attack people just because they look like they might be up to no good.
The first thing you learn about people is people are not simple. I completely believe that they were so clueless as to think, yeah, I'll just sit in the audience.
Nah, they knew it was gonna fuck with her a bit. But there is no way to predict that kind of response. As I said earlier, I think they would have listened quietly and not tried to provoke her, except maybe a little in the Q&A, which plenty of other people did for him, so she should have been prepared.
I believe she believes that all male anti-feminists get is called some names sometimes. Now, because I was involved in that story I told off the top where Sargon's own audience turned on him, I can state with certainty that is no. There are outrage warriors on the right as well as on the left. And one of the things they have in common is if you cross them, boom, you get it way worse than anyone in the opposing camp gets.
True. This is made even more poignant by Anita's abuse of Boogie at a later panel. These people live in their shiny little bubble thinking that they're the only ones that have to deal with this shit. People like Anita do all the bitching about rights, but the only people they care about are themselves and their little circle of friends. Until one of them steps out of line and then they get hit like a ton of bricks.
People treat you the way you treat people. And people tend to treat people the way they expect to be treated themselves. Not the way they want to be treated themselves, the way they expect to be treated. And this is going on here in spades. You wonder why people don't give you the benefit of the doubt, Anita? Read your own writing. You are setting that tone. I say this because this is something you can control. You don't like being treated this way? Stop treating people this way. Stop gaslighting other people. You don't like being gaslit. Now,
This is called the Iron Rule. It's pretty much the opposite of the Golden Rule. If more people lived by the Golden Rule than the Iron Rule, shit like this wouldn't happen near as much. And Liana pretty much nailed it on the head here. Anita is setting the tone. And as any computer geek can tell you, garbage in, garbage out.
you don't know. She doesn't know what Sargon has gone through because she probably has him blocked. He's probably on the same block list that I got caught up on. So how do you know? You don't. You're assuming. And as my third grade bus driver said, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
A phrase I use all the time, and I neither teach third grade nor drive a bus. But just like Steve Shives, there cannot be discourse or conversation when you're unwilling to listen to the other side. And going back to the Iron Rule, if you aren't going to listen to my side, why should I listen to yours?
Now, this is a valid point. When you have a history of harassing someone for years and you show up at the front row of their panel with a camera and an entourage, that is not an act of good faith, to put it mildly. This is itself an act of intimidation and harassment. That's true. I don't think they realize that. But I will give her that one.
No, that's bullshit. I will not give her that one. When you put yourself out there in a public place, then the mere presence of someone is not, I repeat, not an act of abuse or harassment. I mentioned martial arts. I was always a black sheep in the local martial arts community and not very well liked, and there were a lot of people that I didn't like. Sometimes I had to stand before them. Sometimes they had to stand before me. That's just life. You aren't going to get along with everyone, especially when you're like me and don't play well with others. And when you attend a public event that you know will most likely be attended by people you don't like, and that they return that sentiment, that there's a good chance you're going to end up face to face at some point, and you either need to prepare yourself for that or stay the fuck home.
You know, when Anita's back was against the wall, she acted really no better. She could have chose to ignore him. Could have. She didn't. And I think that's okay because she was freaked out. But fucking own it. Okay? This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give her permission to own saying, yeah, he was there. I was intimidated. I got defensive. Boom. Honest, simple. Everybody can understand it.
Okay, I'll buy that. I still think she should have kept her head. I still think that she went on the offense more to go viral than because her back was against the wall. But if she'd owned it and said, my bad, then I think I could have swallowed that pill. But she didn't. In fact, she did the very opposite.
In truth, he and his followers cannot begin to imagine what it is to have to constantly beg for and fight for your basic humanity in a culture that fundamentally refuses to acknowledge it. Honey, you were on the Colbert Report. What more do you want?
Total bullshit. I'm a straight, white, cis, and I still don't know what the fuck that means, male. And let me tell you, life ain't sunshine. I'm still waiting for that white male privilege check to come in so I can cash it. Life's hard for everyone. Get a fucking helmet.
He cannot imagine what it is to spend years and years being the target of floods of harassment and hate and then go out there and keep fighting.
Oh, I think he can. I think he does.
Men have those stories. Men have those traditions because men are encouraged to go out there and get hit. And there are a lot of men right now, and this makes up a big portions of the men's rights movement, who are tired of being the ones that have to go out and get hit. And you know what? They have a point there.
Damn straight. I'm not an MRA, but I probably should be. Anita reminds me of what Corey Taylor said about Kanye.
It all started, and I wouldn't have as much issues with him if he wasn't so fucking busy trying to look so put on by the fact that he has everything in his fucking life and he just can't be fucking bothered to enjoy it. Are you fucking kidding me? You fucking asshole. Really?
But moving on.
You can't physically overpower a man.
Again, I call bullshit. I know of a lot of women who can overpower a lot of men. Some women are naturally strong. I'm of average size and decent shape, and I personally know a woman with no training that I know of that could straight up body slam me. And she's not one of those fugly sumo wrestler gone wrong chicks. She's hot, but she's big and she's tough. And a lot of men can't fight their way out of a paper bag. I have personally trained or trained with countless women that you would not want to sneak up on in a dark alley. Add to that I'm Southern, and I've known a lot of men to get beat up by their wives or girlfriends just because they refuse to fight back, because in the South we're taught not to hit women for any reason. Which, of course, Anita would think was sexist right up until she got punched in the face, and then she'd start screaming about the patriarchy. In fact, most of the women I've trained have become far more vicious and formidable fighters than the men I trained. So don't give me this bullshit about women not being able to physically overpower men.
In order to earn the respect of this industry, instead of everybody just being irrationally terrified of how you're going to terrorize their product, then you have to show you can take a few hits. That's how this works. That is what fighting means. That is what being a warrior means. It means you're gonna get knocked down, but you get back up, and you know what? You can't whine about it. Because if you really look at it, you threw the first damn punch. You went after Princess Peach. You went after Lara Croft. You went after Ellie from The Last of Us, for God's sake. Like, there is no female character in games that you have not gone after. And that is your right. But you need to understand the deeply personal, tender, vulnerable relationships that gamers have with those characters. And what you call harassment, in a lot of cases, not always, there has been some legitimate stuff, but in a lot of cases, these things that are harassment are howls of anguish from gamers because you are traumatizing them. You are saying the thing that got them through a painful adolescence is evil and harmful. So you better be prepared to take a few blows.
Damn straight. I honestly have nothing to add to that.
And I know most of you are still not watching this, but I wanted to do it because this matters.
Hey, I'm still watching. And you're right, this does matter. Thank you for making this video. Well, that was my first response video. Let me know what you think. I have a comment section for a reason. If you enjoyed my video, please like, subscribe, share, go watch the full versions of the videos I used, and tell them I sent you, which will probably just confuse them since they have no clue who I am. Oh yeah, as always, don't forget to abide, except when you shouldn't.